Hi everyone. Today I'm going to continue on with discussions of some recent March 2023 Blu-ray releases, and today I want to talk about an Arrow release, and this is The House That Screamed. Great cover, and it's from 1969. It's a Spanish horror film, but filmed in English with some English actors. Directed by Tito Ibanez Serrador. Lili Palmer is the main star of the film. It's a cult psychological horror film that is set in 19th century France, and it's set in a boarding school, reform school. It almost seems like a prison at times. A young new boarder comes. She's sort of our entryway into this boarding school. That's made up of misfits, children from parents that don't know what to do with them. They're not wanted, age 15 to 21. It's a matriarchy. It's ruled with an iron fist by a headmistress who demands absolute obedience. If you're caught disobeying, the consequences can be very severe. There's an element of sadism in the school, bullying for sure. It's punishment is sort of embraced by not just the headmistress, but her two main acolytes, who are the two older students. But the situation is basically that some of the girls have gone missing. It looks to be about a school with about 30 students in it, but some of the girls have gone missing. The other girls are told that they have escaped, they have run away, but no one's heard anything from them. And you wonder how they could have run away, because the school is surrounded by high walls and heavy iron gates that are locked. So this situation creates a very eerie atmosphere. It's the set design is absolutely great. This is not a low budget movie. This is a big budget movie. I think it was the biggest budget movie that the Spanish film industry had ever made up to that point. So it's very much this gothic feeling to it. There's elements of Hitchcock, to be sure, here, because we get the matriarch, the headmistress has a son, who's a teenage son, who she keeps separate from all the girls because they're not worthy of her son. So, but he meets clandestinely with them, and there's other clandestine elements to this film, or to this school, going on as well. And so we have a la Hitchcock. We have a shower scene. We have a peephole scene. We have an odd mother-son relationship, which is very much part of the Hitchcock oeuvre. But most of all, I think this film reminds me of a Hammer film. I think it does have some psychological depth that is very pronounced. And it is the first film in Spain, in the Spanish film industry, that was filmed in English, because they had decided to try to expand their audience to England, or English-speaking countries, and with production values that would play around the world, and including the United States. So it was a very ambitious film. And so they got Lili Palmer to play the headmistress. Now, she was an Austrian actress, but she was in Hollywood for many years and appeared in many Hollywood films. And she also had a television show, I think, in the 1950s in the U.S. She's excellent as the headmistress. She has this sort of regal bearing, and you believe her when she's when she wants to punish her girls. You believe it. John Mulder Brown plays her son, and this is from the booklet, the cover of the booklet. This is actually a scene in the movie. And I think he was 16 at the time, but he always looked like a little boy. And John Mulder Brown, the following year, in 1970, he appeared in Jerzy Skolimowski's Deep End, which is one of my favorite films of the 1970s, currently playing on the Criterion Channel. And So if you have that, I highly have access to that. I highly recommend it. The new boarder is an actress played by Christina, or is a role played by Christina Galbo. She is a Spanish actress, I believe. I think she was mainly a dancer, but she's quite striking, very good. You might see a little bit of Pamela Franklin, I think, in her. She kind of reminds me of Pamela Franklin, but the one performance that really caught my eye was the performance of one of the acolytes, of the chief acolyte of the headmistress, and she has a lot more freedom. She has the keys. She's played by an English actress by the name of Mary Maud, and she sort of takes over the final third of the film, and she's just terrific. And one of the joys, I think, of watching these kinds of movies that you've never seen before, that are kind of obscure, although this has through the years become a cult film, is you get to see performances like this, and you think, my gosh, this actress is really good. How come, I don't know, I can't remember now what her subsequent filmography was, but I don't think it was very extensive. But this is her. This is her on the cover here, so some really excellent performances here. Most of the other cast are Spanish, and from what we learned in the supplements, the Spanish audience would have known these other girls because they were on television. They were in comedies and dramas on television during this era. And this era is the late Franco era, the Generalissimo Franco's right-wing nationalist dictatorship, which was, I guess, about 30 years, maybe a little more than 30 years already. So it's the late era of Franco. I think he lives for a few more years, and there was some liberalization during this period, but definitely there was still censorship, and the metaphor of the school brought up by everybody in the supplements is that this was sort of a metaphor for Spain, and the Spanish dictatorship and the repression and the tyranny. So they would, and everybody said that the Spanish audiences would pick up on this. This was, with this heavy censorship, the audiences had to see these situations as metaphors for their actual country, rather than the nation that Franco and the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church gets very much skewered into. They were very much in cahoots with the Franco dictatorship, and the story plays into that as well. The movie does. To talk a little bit, just briefly, about the director, Tito Ibanez Serrador. This is his first feature, but he had a very successful television show, and was the Stories We Tell in the Dark, something like that. And it was an anthology series that was similar sort of to The Twilight Zone or to Alfred Hitchcock's Present television show, and Ibanez Serrador would come out and introduce the films or the television shows beforehand, which Hitchcock did as well. So he was a household word because his television show was wildly popular. He had come from Argentina, and his father was a famous sort of Lon Chaney type actor in Argentina. But he only made one. Ibanez Serrador only made one more film. Who Would Kill a Child? I think. Who Can Kill a Child? His television show was called Stories to Keep You Awake. I've never seen his other feature film, and then the rest of his career, which went into the 2000s, was almost all TV. I don't think he ever made another feature film. So we get a great release from Arrow. Great cover art. We have reversible cover art with The House That Screamed. There's a poster too, which I don't have at hand, that each side, a double-sided poster with the cover art, and the other side, the reversible cover art. We even get the cover. I like this when they put it on the disc. And we get a booklet with a really nice essay and some some of the pictures, black and white stills from the movie. Apologize for the glare. And the creepiness. We get a lot of creepiness in this film. It has a lot of atmosphere. Big budget movie. And many of the cinematographers, the set designers, they had worked on some co-productions, European co-productions, big budget films that were made in Spain as well as other parts of Europe during the time. So this looks like this is a great looking film. And then we get a commentary from Anna Boyetskaya. I think her name is. I apologize if I mispronounced it. It's very good. She grew up in Spain, so she knew how important the director was, and a little bit of gaps in there. I think she could have told us a little bit more information, especially about some of the girls in the school, the actresses that play the girls in the school. But overall, it's worth listening to. And then we get these interviews that are fantastic. There's one from a few years ago with John Mulder Brown. So articulate. I mean, he still looks young. I guess he must be in his mid-60s. He passes for 40 in this interview. And so articulate and has such great stories about how he got cast for the film, is working with Lili Palmer and the other girls in the cast, and what the film means. He really, I mean, this is a film that obviously, you know, the actors, when they look back on, they're very proud of it. I'm sure in 1969 they might not have considered this to be a major film in their filmography. And then we get an interview with Mary Maude, the actress that I just praised a couple minutes ago, and this was from early 2000s at a horror festival. She seems dumbfounded that she would be invited to this film. Has gotten such cult status, but she's really funny, you know, in her describing her relationship with the director, what it was like to be on a set where outside of the main actors, everybody else spoke Spanish, and there was a Spanish language dub as well, but all the actors who spoke English dubbed their and it's not bad. There's a few spots where the dubbing's a little bit off, but it does most of the time. It will match the lip sync. And there's an interview with Abanez Serrador's son. Obviously very proud. He wasn't born yet when this film was made, but he was on the TV sets of the shows that his father produced, and is very proud. You know, he said, growing up, I didn't know what significance. He said, but now, you know, as an adult, I realize, you know, how important my father was. And he said his father was sort of trapped in TV. He was so successful on TV, he never got a chance to make another film. And he said his father really kind of regretted that he, you know, there could have been a dozen more of his films, because that's what people are going to remember him for, these two films, these two feature films. So overall, a cult status, and I shout out to Grade 1951 Media Channel. He touted me to watch this movie. I'm sure everybody who has listened this far is probably, you know, Mike from Grade 1951. You're certainly familiar with his channel, but if not, I will link it in the description box below. And thanks a lot, because I think this is a real classic horror film. It's subtle, psychological. It's got some gore. It's very creepy. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. I do appreciate it. Comments are always welcome. And you guys take care.